Happy New Year! Eye of the Tiger, baby. It's the year of the tiger. Welcome to IoT Coffee Talk. And how are you guys doing?
Awesome.
Fabulous.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. What's up with everyone's got hats on?
You started it.
Did I really? I thought you're the only one that didn't jump on with a hat.
That is true. I had to go behind the scenes and grab a hat.
Yeah. So if anybody wanted to know backstory.
Yeah, fear of missing out from a hat war.
Yeah.
I just feel very Texan in the new year. So
you're in Texas.
well, I always live here, so to say.
Where you at in Texas?
The Dallas area in South Lake.
Okay. I'm in Austin.
Okay. Yeah, I'm in South Lake.
Jeez. Yeah, everyone's moving to Texas. It's crazy.
Place to
It's
be.
the thing to do.
It seems like it. Yeah. Well,
You can even buy a town for a couple of mil, I heard.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Yeah. Bill, wasn't it you? Didn't you buy a town of another rich friend of yours, like 900 acres with your own power plant and stuff? That wasn't you?
No, that wasn't me.
All right.
I wish it was.
yeah. Well, so, hey, welcome back, guys. And what a great way to start off the new year with no idea of what we're really going to talk about. And for those of you who are new to IoT Coffee Talk, that's usually how we start the show, with maybe not absolutely no idea of what we're going to be talking about, but we're always inspired by something, and we tend to have some insightful discussions, and we do it all for fun. It's totally raw conversations about all things techno IoT-ish type of stuff. And we're just here to have fun. And warning, we do ramble, but the thing is that's you have to mine for the gold. You have to mine for the nuggets, and that's what we're about. Because we just think it's important to have these organic, real conversations about technologies and how they are and maybe not transforming our world. And I think the latter part is important to consider as well, as much as the former. I think we get a little too much of the former that goes a little bonkers. So we're not here to be negative. We're here to be positive, but real. And that's what you get with IoT Coffee Talk. And so, hey, Andreea, Bill, thanks for joining. I'm glad I put the invite out to have you guys on for our inaugural show for 2022. And of course we have David. It's always great to have him on, being the snarky smartass that he is. And so guys, 2022, what are you looking forward to? I mean, 2021 is behind us. What a roller coaster ride of a year, right? In tech and just in life and the world in general.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like 2020, 2021 were like all the same year. It was just the same. It was like 2020 just said, just keep it going. And we just rolled through.
Yeah.
So it feels like this is hopefully this is the point of inflection and change.
Yeah.
That's
what Bill is saying is that today is the 975th day of March 2020.
That's it.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, all I can say is that this hat really doesn't fit on my head. I have a big head. This is supposed to be like a large. It's horrible. They don't make these hats my size.
You can
have a big head.
That makes for a good popcorn hat to watch. To read IoT analysis on the interwebs.
Yeah. What are you guys excited about? What are you guys looking forward to in 2022?
I am excited about however this permeates, but the infrastructure bill and how that is going to get applied in many places that absolutely need it across the U.S. Of course, top of mind for folks in the East Coast is that whole debacle on I-95, where you had a very long stretch of highway shut down because of a combination of things, accidents and a snowstorm. But, at the end of the day, it's like, hey, infrastructure, how do we, if these things happen, how can we keep it from happening in the future? So that's one. Also, because supply chain was so hot all of last year. Once again, how is this infrastructure bill going to help alleviate, ameliorate, whatever, that situation specifically within the ports of entry, here in the US. So, East Coast, West Coast, down in, you guys' neck of the woods in Houston. And which small IoT shops are going to get acquired or disappear with a whimper. So those are the their infrastructure and IoT is what I'm looking forward to in 22.
Wow. What about you, Andrea?
Yeah, so I was just sitting here and going through 2020 from my point of view. It's a very interesting year from just a personal point of view, because I stopped working at the beginning of the year. I left Ericsson after many years. So, and I did all sorts of things, but without that, commitment, the job commitment that I've had for forever, right?
Yeah.
So it felt to me 2021 like all of a sudden I pulled my head out of a bucket, and it's like an avalanche of technology talk.
Yeah.
And as I think about it, it's like, well, of course Ericsson is a technology company. So when I worked there, I sold technology, we created technology, right? So I work with IoT personally and selling it and understanding how it works and the platform. I sold the IoT platform and supported it. But all of a sudden it felt that, wow, there's so much I didn't know. There's just so much I didn't know that the world is talking about. And, tons of blockchain talk, tons of AI talk, tons of ML talk. And of course we had that, at Ericsson, AI ML developments and pretty massive. So again, not new, but it just felt new. It felt so much bigger than my environment.
Yeah.
And so now what I'm thinking is, okay, this year things are just gonna have to, I want to see a baseline of technologies, right? What is hype, and kind of a classification of, what's hype, what's not hype, what's coming into practice, right?
Yeah.
So this is what I'm looking forward to. And private networks was again a big talk last year. So what's gonna happen? How are private networks gonna be useful? Who monetizes what?
Yeah.
And if you were to ask me what's the biggest hurdle for everybody that works with 5G, the telecom vendors, telecom operators, for me is this, the business models, right? Because they're just not clear. So this is what I'm looking forward to. And you could say, why this year? Maybe this spreads out into next year. Okay, whatever. I'm hoping we're gonna get some sense of that.
Yeah, that's great. Bill, what about you, man?
Well, I'm kind of split between both David and Andrea.
Trying to take the easy way out, man.
Well, no.
I'm just gonna say, I'm looking forward to everything that you guys just said, and then I'm done.
Yes and no, because the one element that I didn't hear was that, because at the end of last year, we had that huge discussion around Log4j. So yes, the infrastructure bill to me is the equivalent of what happened during 2008, right around the time the smart grid happened, and the utilities got that infusion of dollars to actually go out and start smart grid networks, AMI and things of that nature, which I think that there should be a ton of learnings that were taken from that, because it didn't absolutely deliver on the promise, right? And so since then, to take that and to look at it and to learn and say, all right, we've got this once in a lifetime opportunity to literally get the infrastructure right.
Yeah.
I mean, and being in Texas, I'm like, look, the number of co-ops that exist out here is phenomenal. And it's a phenomenal opportunity for them to actually look back and place the onus on the IOUs as well as the transmission operators to say, we've got to fix the delivery system, which is core to that infrastructure.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, because data is the element that wants to be refined and then monetized. How does that happen? And how does that happen securely? And how do we get to a secure element of data sharing? And how do we make sure that all of this, the plethora of platforms, which, I mean, these buzzwords are like, they're like gnats, man. They're just everywhere, and you're trying to knock them out of the way and everything like that. But how do we get to a point of securely sharing the data and seeing that there's enough money in it for everyone? So it's not necessarily a one throat to choke type thing. So I'm really looking to see how all of this kind of coalesces and helps to move society forward as opposed to any individual company.
Yeah, I like your last bit there. I think this whole idea of trust is going to start to become a more important thing, especially as we look at, the 2000, the midterms. And the whole the whole question of what's trustworthy, right? And whether it's at a societal level or down at a at a data level, right, or an information level, what's trustworthy? What are the frameworks and mechanisms and the governance models that we can maybe start to consider as we look at trust being constantly challenged in many different forms, right? We talk about cybersecurity, but there's going to be a war against fake stuff, I'm not just talking about from a political standpoint. Obviously, there's huge implications there, but just in our daily lives, there's fake content, there's spam, there's stuff that you just can't trust that are the things that precede any kind of security incident or privacy incident, right? Because right now, this is what I see a lot of people do is just completely conflate security, privacy, and trust. They're all separate things, they all really are from a construct perspective. And so especially with the blockchain Bitcoin folks out there, they talk about trust. It's like, no, the technology never instills trust. It's only a tool. The design of trust is an abstraction that is above all of that, right? And so, this whole idea of immutability, you always hear the blockchain guys go, or crypto guys, well, it's immutable. And we've said several times on our show, and it's probably something that should get out there and become like a mantra in the crypto echo chamber, is immutable does not mean trustworthy. You can have immutable untrustworthiness if inherently the system or that you are participating in is not trustworthy. So I think, whether or not we talk about it, it's explicitly, meaning trust, I think we're going to be challenged with it this year. On a global scale, and the IoT is going to be part of that conversation, I think. And so that's one of the things I'm really interested in. I just had I'm attending CES virtually, and I had a really interesting briefing with a tech company, and they're talking about root of trust. all the way down to the silicon level, right? So
yeah, it has to be there.
I mean, well, it should be down at the silicon level, but starting there, how do you now build trust frameworks from that point all the way out in your digital solution, right? Or the solution that you're either supporting or providing in terms of infrastructure or the applications that are built on top of that. So it's just really interesting stuff. But it's weird. It's like all these hacks, the cybersecurity stuff. The problem that we really fundamentally have is that we don't have the mechanisms to trust things, and that's where you incur a lot of the economic damage, right? Untrustworthy transactions, and intent. That's what really victimizes us, beyond just the incidents, which are the hacks. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's what's the intent behind the attacks, and fundamentally is you have participants who are not trustworthy, and they're taking different forms. They're taking different forms that we traditionally don't think about because we now live in the metaverse.
But let me respond to this, Leonard, because I don't think it's all doom and gloom. So a couple of things. So in your example of a tech company making sure that the security and the trust is down to the silicon, down to the SOC, down to the kernel level, down to the most single unit component of this. If you can trust that, the smart people, then they're going to integrate that thing with the next system that they already trust, right? So ultimately, it's a handshake of things that we trust to deliver whatever the outcome is. I mean, that's classical SI example. That's one. Now the one where it gets tricky is with cyber attacks, the cost, right? I mean, let's use the example of, wasn't there a university the other day that lost like 70 terabytes of data? Let me paraphrase. It was a lot of research. It was like 70 terabytes worth of data gone. And I think, and I don't know if it was someone, pushed a button, right? Or it was, but whatever the case, but it over something stronger than coffee, it made me think of if this organization, now they saw value in this data, right? Because they had racks and racks of equipment to hold this data. So someone thought this data is valuable, but there didn't seem to be any, a backup strategy, whether some redundancy or cloud-based. And it made me think of the cost. Is it that the cost to add redundancy was greater than the value that they put on their data? Because it comes down to dollars and cents. And I think it's the same thing with cyber everything. There's so much out there. There's so many incidents. There's so many great practitioners. But at some point, that stakeholder is going to go like, nah, man, we haven't been hacked in 30 years. We're good. What we've done for the last 30, we're good. It's not going to happen. And then it does. And then it's a scramble. So, that's really tough. The value of a breach, who do you believe? Do we believe the practitioners that give your number? Do we believe the customer that gives your number? Where's the truth? And unfortunately, that's a very individual thing that organizations need to answer. If you got hacked today and some intellectual property is now compromised, what's the number? Just what's the number? And if you can secure yourself a little bit more for a number less than that number, do it, or just gamble. Anyway, that's
Can you ever be bulletproof against hacking?
For one day or maybe 1 hour.
Yeah.
1 hour.
So when do you stop?
You never stop. It's a continuous practice. I mean,
exactly.
So David, to your point, when you say all the way down to the lowest level, right? All right. So for example, you know, when I think of that, immediately I go to what everyone is talking about, the edge. Mm-hmm. All right. And they'll say, we're transport agnostic. So any device that you have there can come to this edge device and gain access. So then at that point, your root of trust has a bunch of other things underneath it, right? So what role do you play in this network? Where's your authentication and your credentials, and where is this? And once you're authenticated, are you done? You've got to go back and continuously authenticate that device to make sure that's the same device that I said had access and this role in the network delivering this data at this time, at this interval. I mean, it's a continuous thing.
That's right.
Yeah. I mean, and the landscape, I mean, but the whole thing is about, it's like insurance. How much do you want to pay? What's your appetite for paying for risk mitigation? That's what, to your point, that's what it boils down to. But now that we're in this world of like cloud everything, some of these attacks can have substantial broad implications, right? So it's not just an individual decision or impact on a smaller individual scope. It can be much broader, right? We saw the what do you call it? The solar, what was it called? Solar winds? Yeah,
solar winds.
Yeah. I mean, that impacted thousands of tenants of certain cloud providers, right?
It impacted almost every cloud provider.
Yeah. So, you always have to be on your toes, and the dimensions and the threat vectors that are forming constantly are things that that's why you have these security professionals that are out there constantly trying to, keep up to date with all the new types of threats. And, I mean, they really do have a thankless job in many instances. They're always asking for budget, and it's like people, it's like a insurance salesperson coming up to you and, trying to sell you insurance on your pet or your what is it? Pet rock or something like that. They just don't get attention sometimes. So yeah, it's a tough gig. But I think, it's a mindset issue as well within enterprises. And all the cybersecurity stuff is super cryptic. I mean, for us who, kind of live in it and encounter it quite a bit, it seems like, oh yeah, this is, everyone should know this stuff, but it's pretty,
or at least be aware of it, right?
Yeah, but even then, how do you grasp basic understanding so that you have context about how do you, as a layperson, this stuff is super cryptic. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes I don't think oftentimes we say, well, there should be more awareness, there should be more education, but think about how many years we've been telling our parents, stop, sharing these spam emails, they never stop doing it. Even that age-old, bad practice of forwarding spam email to your friends is still there. I constantly have to tell my parents that. And they've,
Leonard,
now I get all these weird political ads in my mailbox, and I'm wondering how the hell, it's like, I'm not even affiliated with that party. Why am I getting all this like junk mail from them?
See, what you need to do is you create a rule so that when your mom forwards you that email, you auto forward to your uncle, and then you let them live in that circle.
Yeah. In that bubble.
That helps.
Yeah.
Speaking of parents, I'm trying to find games for my mom. She's 85, right? So she plays Sudoku, but I'm trying to find, I want to find new games, right? Interesting games to keep her going. which I think everybody, 80 needs to do that. Just because it gives them something to do and just keep their mind. I want something challenging for her. And there are lots of them out there, and I don't know which one to trust.
Yeah.
Which of those apps do I trust there? And it's not, I'm beyond the point of ads. Ads are annoying. Okay, fine. Ads are annoying. She has time. So ads are not the problem. The problem is trust. What am I getting her into? What am I putting on her phone? And then what do I get myself into, right? Because I'm connected with her, we're WhatsApping or what have you. So this is where I'm kind of stuck, over the holidays. This is a topic for me. And what do I do? Do I just investigate the heck out of it? And then what, right?
Yeah, I know. And that's like one of the dilemmas we have with the quote unquote closed, the closed ecosystems, app ecosystems and things like that. Right. I don't think it's a secret that Apple gets a lot of trash and heat for the way that they administer their app marketplace. But I mean, that's one of the quite honestly, as a consumer, it's one of the reasons why I appreciate Apple.
Exactly.
I don't trust developers. And so a lot of them that are kicking and screaming about paying the 30%, I don't care. Most of the apps out there are junk.
Yeah.
Out of the whatever 2 million apps that are in either the Google Play or the Apple App Store, pure junk. There's only a handful. I mean, there's like a long tail of crap, and then there's like a really narrow fat tail of valuable apps out there. And most of, if Apple's charging developers 30% to keep the bar high and keep the junk out, more power to them. As a consumer, quite honestly, that's the way that I feel. And so maybe that's like that I feel is one way to just kind of filter out some of these potential, bad actors, not to characterize developers as bad actors, but there are a lot of them out there, right? There are a lot of and people who would manipulate an open system to put malware on your device. And, of all devices in this world, the most personal, I mean, Apple says it all the time. It actually is true. The most personal device that you have is this friggin' thing. This thing knows your life better than you know yourself. And it doesn't have to share all the stuff in the cloud. The information you have on here is your life, there's stuff that that's on here that I don't even remember myself. That's why you have all the photos there. And
I think there's parallels between, Andrea's comment of, I want a game for my mom, end result. But how do I ensure that it is safe, that I'm not creating an issue, right? And if we were, first assuming it's the Apple environment, right? So we have like a line of defense, but I really want to make sure, in reality, what are we going to do beyond reading the end license user agreement for that developer, right? Yeah. What do we do beyond understanding that my mom or my significant other is in this geography, therefore GDPR works like this here? That takes a lot of time. Now, very different. I want to buy the latest version of Word with Friends. So I'm going to do this one time. I'm going to invest a couple of hours and we're done. But try doing that across, I'm going to do this for my uncle and my kid. Now we're in the car, we're stuck in 995. The kids are screaming. You think I'm going to take the time? So you're right. We use, in this case, Apple as one anchor of trust.
Yeah.
Now, where I think the parallel is that the comment in back to cyber. We always talk about enterprise, and most of these companies are well resourced and they have really smart people. But, we also have the mom and pop shops, right? Let's go down to point of sale. I think things have gotten better in the sense that vendors understand that the need of a mom and pop shop, they need to serve those needs in layman's terms. Here's what I'm trying to protect you from. I do two things. Here are the SLAs, done. Because if we go full on PCI on the bike shop that's down here, it's like, no, dude, like it doesn't work. So this is all back to, who do we trust? Is it, Apple in an app store example, or is it this, vendor? It has to be anchored to something. And most of us, I don't always do this. I don't take the time to read everything.
Yeah, I mean, how many of us do? And you're bringing up a great point. As a developer, I mean, think about the cost that they would incur to figure out how to legally enter all the markets you can enter just going through the App Store, because Apple and Google handle all of it for you. And so when they say no, they push back. It might not just be that they don't like your app for whatever XYZ technical reason. Maybe you didn't follow their meta tagging scheme or whatever, but that's your fault. They set out the rules, you didn't follow it. So you bitching and moaning about not following the rules is ridiculous. But to some of that pushback may simply be, hey, look, if you wanted to enter this market because of GDPR, you have to follow XYZ. Oh, by the way, yeah, it sucks. And oh, by the way, GDPR is global, has implications globally. So when you get a no from a trust privacy perspective, that's something, you would have to pay thousands of dollars to your own personal corporate lawyer to figure all that crap out. And, so, I think there are some companies out there, large ones, that can take up the banner of trust and privacy. And I think some will argue that, companies like Apple are doing that, even though they've stumbled a few times, especially with that the Siri stuff, that whatever, the AI farm that they had, that was pretty lame, stupid for them to do that. But that's why, I mean, we're coming around full circle. I mean, I think trust is going to be a big thing, whether or not we intend on talking about it explicitly or just implicitly, just because we're discussing the issues that are related to trust, but yeah.
So one of you brought up edge earlier, so it got me thinking about what's the purpose of edge in the first place, right? Trust or access to things, right? And how do you ensure that you trust those things, whatever they are? And, customers expect security built into products, built into software, built into hardware, right? But they don't want to pay a premium for that. It's an expectation, right? Vendors do so much of security in the products, and then they say, well, you need a whole security architecture. So here's some additional things to create an end-to-end secure system. So you, Leonard, spoke earlier about the security folks in companies, hitting their head against the wall, not getting budget and all that. I've seen that. I was thinking of an operator that I work with.
All the time, yeah.
They had a pretty awesome security group, and the security group said, we gotta get the security aspects into this particular contract, because this is our opportunity to get money in the process, right? And I thought very hard about that, and I was like, I empathize with them. They're super brilliant people, right? And then I look at other companies that don't hire the most brilliant people in security, right? So I got all kinds of stories coming to my mind now about this, right? And as we put edge in practice, just back to my first point, if we put it in practice, right? How do we give that confidence in the security of the edge?
Well, I mean, and this is, again, I think that we closed out 2021 with on the last talk that we had with the, and it's not the, I think technology wise, you know, things come about and we look at it and we go, that's a thing. Well, no, it's a piece. You know, I mean, I've been on the bandwagon of campaigning around digital twins since 2013, 2012, somewhere around there. And everyone thought, oh, well, this is the thing. No, that is a tool. The whole software bill of materials things is a tool to answer some of Andrea's questions. It's a tool by which to say that if you are the software provider, you are the person that created that application, you are held accountable to a set of standards in terms of how that software is updated, what elements are in that update, when it was updated, what version it is, all of that. And that is, and from my perspective, probably the largest tool that we can have this year to implement, to start to institute that change all the way down to the consumer.
Dude, I love it. You know what? I was trying to sleep last night. I had insomnia, and a thought came to mind. You know, we have cultures where there's this whole thing where we teach our kids, you know, don't point fingers at, you know, people, right? Don't point fingers. Don't blame others. Actually, no, point fingers. If there is accountability that is needed to be had, point that friggin' finger. There's a difference between holding people accountable, pointing fingers and holding people accountable, and then blaming others for your own faults. Mm-hmm. That's what we really mean. But I think there's this mentality that pointing fingers and holding people accountable, truly accountable for what they were responsible for. I think that's fundamentally the mindset you have to have as you go in and you start to build out and mature or repair trust frameworks, right? I'm just throwing that out there. I mean, I don't know if I'm right. I'm shooting from the hip right now. Maybe there's people who think I'm totally full of crap, but it feels good to say that.
Well, dear children, if somehow you have stumbled down this podcast on YouTube and you have no idea what just happened, know the following. It is bad manners to point at people, but what Uncle Leonard was saying in the context of tech, you can point to hold accountable. Two things. Andrea, to your comment about the brilliant people realizing this product is going and, you know, it needs security, not only because it's the right thing, because it's going to make us nice margins. You know what we all need, what these folks need is incredible security product marketing. Because if I give you a proposal and I'm going to say, hey, here's what it is, by the way, there's no security here.
You are right.
There you go. There you go. This is it. This is what you want. There's no security here. Oh, by the way, here's an addendum. If you want this thing hardened, we can do it. And I know it sounds ridiculous, but if you've been in the commercial aspects of delivering a proposal, you would know that it's like, man, yeah, we should have done that.
I subscribe to that totally.
No, because your comment was spot on. Customers expect everything to be like NSA, DOD level hardened, but they want to pay 99-cent store prices. That's what it is. So we know this. Just call it like it is. We're delivering this. There's no security. Right. And if you want it hardened, we can do it right here. What do you want? Either way, we're trying to help you. Done.
Yeah. Hey, but there's a company that just touched the $3 trillion mark. Okay. That is one of the biggest campaigns that they've had over the last 3 years has been privacy first. Okay. And before you can get to privacy first, you got to have some kind of security game going on. And they've been touting that for a long time too. People will pay a premium for what they feel. I mean, sometimes a lot of this stuff is feeling, right? Whether or not Apple actually delivers on privacy first and is truly trustworthy, I mean, that's on them. You know, they have to fight the good fight for everyone. If they stumble like they did with the stupid Siri thing, you know, they lose credibility. You lose credibility, it's really hard to build back that trust. But people pay. You know, that people are, I mean, that's how Apple makes crazy margins, and the market values that. You know, their ASPs are through the roof compared to the rest of the electronics industry, right?
Well,
so
I mean, what is the thing? I mean, there's so many. It's funny. Is it because of this privacy thing, or is it because they added this luxury aspect to the brand? I mean, like, dude, Apple is an aspirational product. You know, there's geographies in the world that having an Apple product is like a social status, because so, you know, is it a combination of, is it just privacy? I mean,
dude, think about it. There are a lot of other vendors. You know, electronics companies out there making really cool looking stuff, right? I mean, look at, you know, Samsung, look at, you know, Lenovo, Dell,
I was going to say
Google, Microsoft, but none of them can crack that Apple code like Apple does. But a big part of that story, the reason why people trust the brand and why, you know, companies like Facebook are suffering a trust deficit, right? You know, that's, yeah. And those guys, that's a different world. We'll talk about them maybe never on this show. Long story, right? But I mean, obviously they have huge margins too, but I mean, that's a different convoluted discussion. But, you know, when we're talking about a company that fundamentally sells electronics, right, or is thought to sell electronics, they command a huge, you know, premium over everyone else. And
are you giving away anything any different? Right?
That's a good question. Yeah. I mean, that's why I'm saying, but you know, they do have mechanisms and services. They've been pitching them. They've actually expressed them in their product that make you feel, and I emphasize feel, that it's more trustworthy and respectful of your privacy. And then when you look at how they architect their services as well as their devices, there's a difference. You know, they do a lot more on board, you know, processing of and storage of your private data. They have the secure enclave. I mean, they were the first to do it. Everyone's fast following that. They've done all these firsts, and it's forced everyone else to kind of follow along and subscribe. But the problem is, you know, the other ecosystems are so fragmented, it's really difficult for them to build these trust constructs. Do you know what I'm saying? Apple, it's really simple. And if they say, hey, look, privacy and trust is going to be our market differentiator, they could do it a hell of a lot faster than anyone else. They can implement it across their whole ecosystem like that. Think about what it would take, you know, like a Dell or a HP or any of these guys to be able to promote a holistic trust implementation or privacy first kind of offering to their customers. The architecture would be really complex. You know, think about it from a design perspective. That'd be horrible.
Part of that is because of their approach, right? If you upgrade an Apple product, you're buying all new peripherals.
Yeah,
you're buying all new peripherals. The other aspect of it, so to move the hardware piece out of it, and there's other aspects to it, they're pretty much proprietary.
Yeah.
The open, that's Android and everyone else. The proprietary, that's Apple.
Yeah, sort of, kind of. It's not as black and white.
Here's a perfect example. If you're an Apple, you have an iPhone, and you find someone that has an Android phone. Both of you take videos and send them to each other, and check out the quality. There is no compatibility at all.
No compatibility or difference?
Well, no, there's no compatibility. All right, so you use your iPhone, you take a video, you send it to another person that has an iPhone, and it's like, oh, it's crystal clear.
Oh yeah.
You send it to an Android user, and they're like, what the hell is this?
Oh, really?
Or have an Android user send the video to an iPhone user, and they're like, I can't.
I'm going to test this. I'm going to test this today and report back on it.
Okay. Please do.
Yeah, and actually, Bill, if you have any evidence of this, please share it. Maybe do a little YouTube bit on it.
Yeah, I wasn't aware. I'm going to double check because I get videos from my brother who uses an Android phone.
Yeah, I mean, unless something's changed, because I know that I am an avid Android. The rest of my family is iPhone.
Look, Bill.
Okay.
We know that you have a flip phone, okay? Right? So
for security purposes.
Do not blame your lame video quality on the Android. You have a flip phone.
Yeah, he has like
I am
razor.
100%. This is a hypothesis.
Okay.
It's a hypothesis.
Okay.
Because so many people have come back to me and said, I can't even see the video you just sent.
Boy.
Really?
I'm gonna check because I'm the only iPhone user in my family, so I'm gonna go check that. But you know, when you talk about the flip phone, I cannot miss this opportunity to tell you guys, I had a G1 phone, so 2009, when the first Google phone.
Oh yeah.
About with first Android system. So it was not sold in stores. I can't even remember. I got it through T-Mobile. I was working a lot in Seattle.
It flipped up so you could do the texting.
But man, it was hard to get through the system and figure it out. And I was just like trying things all the time. And fast forward so many years later, I'm like, I take everything for granted. But it was such a pain. With the first G1, and it said G1 phone, right, on the Google phone.
That was their phone, their first phone.
Yeah,
that was.
Yeah. I remember it was basically activated on this carrier. You couldn't buy it from the carrier; you had to buy it from Google, sort of thing.
Exactly. Yeah, something like that. It was 2009. I remember the year.
The whole Android is open to Apple is closed thing now. So first of all, I have trauma from this because I grew up in that environment, like slinging phones, right? And these are one of the things that we would talk about. But 20 years later, I don't think I ever spoke to another human who gave a rat's ass. You know why? Because none of these people were developers. So I don't care if it's open, closed, somewhat closed, somewhat whatever, man. Where do I get? What's the discount? Which is cheaper? No, I'm serious.
Dude,
back in the brought me back. No one cared.
Yeah.
That was part of the positioning. But now that I think of it, like, no, they're like, oh, it's open. Okay, it's at $50. I'll take it.
Nobody cares about that. Yeah, you know what? One of the funniest things. Well, actually, it was a little bit. It was funny but disingenuous things that I saw at those the carrier stands at Costco. Is there was a customer that walked up to one of the sales folks and said, and they're trying to sell some of these Android phones, and so the customer asked, "So is this an iPhone, right?" And then the salesperson said, "It's like, yeah, it's basically like an iPhone. It's just cheaper." That's how they made their sales. And then I knew several of our friends who, and this is the early days of the iPhone, where they had purchased an Android phone, and we had iPhones. And we met up with them and they said, well, how come your iPhone looks different and works different from this one? And is it because you didn't buy an iPhone? So, not only they do not care, I mean, about the open stuff, right? They literally, I mean, people they don't care about the stuff we care about.
And you know what? That's a good point, because I am 100% speaking from a technologist perspective.
Yes, we usually do. But that's you know, that's in the bubble thinking sometimes that we get trapped into, right? And then we think that the world is as savvy as we might be in technology. Not to say that we're better or worse than anyone else for that. But yeah, people just don't know this stuff, and you know what? They could care less.
That's you're right. You know, but today
same applies to IoT.
Yeah, I know you nailed that one, because the one thing that I do love is my MacBook. I love my MacBook. Why? Because I can pull it up. I don't care. Now, here's the thing. I don't care what TV it is. If it's Wi-Fi and I'm on the same network, that MacBook says, oh, there's that TV and here's its name. Do you want to connect to it? And I can stream all my stuff from my Mac all the way over to that TV, no problem. It just works.
Creature comfort. Techno creature comforts. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So
sometimes,
I mean, did I just contradict myself? Maybe a little bit.
No, what?
I'm still doing the Android to iPhone. As soon as I find an Android phone that I haven't seen in the kids.
But hey, man, yeah, you know what? It's a contradictory world, and that's why we need trust frameworks so that we can unravel some of these contradictions and just get to what's real.
Get to the truth. Trust.
Not spend cycles and energy in dealing with all this fake stuff. You know, that's the thing. That's why I think the value of trust. And as a company, especially for IoT companies, if you can somehow create a narrative and realities based off of this concept of trust, it's going to get you a long way. Because especially with new stuff, people don't trust it. If you come up to someone who's a old school analog industry person, they don't trust this digital stuff. And so, how do you, that's why I keep coming back to this thing. And so how did Apple do it? Maybe you can get some lessons from what those guys are doing, whether or not they're actually trustworthy. Again, not saying that they are trustworthy and privacy first, but they've done a hell of a job of making that stuff work for them. And as a consumer, I just say that, they do it a hell of a lot better than everybody else, in my opinion, my personal opinion as a consumer. But maybe that's something that folks in the IoT community need to start thinking about, versus like all this open this and close that and fighting those type of techno-religious battles. It's like, how do we actually apply these technologies, regardless of what they are, in a way that's meaningful, but more importantly, in a way, and presented in a way that is going to garner trust with these new audiences that are new markets that we want to pursue. I don't know. Just again, we're just rambling. So
let's close on what Bill wants for Christmas. 11 and a half months from now, he wants Apple to create a trustworthy generation, transmission, and distribution system.
There you go.
Components.
125% yes.
You stick that Apple sticker on that transformer, on that switch gear, and people be like, boom, safety, security, privacy.
And it just works.
IoT by Apple.
That, you know what, man, dude, that is the basis of trust in the digital world, is electricity. If you don't have it, it doesn't matter what you have on top.
And the kicker, it will be so elegant that you won't see it like magic. Because you know what Bill and Apple are going to do? All the wiring will be underground, people. Underground. So we can share conduit with other folks. You're welcome, Texas.
All right. Hey, that was fun, guys. So who wants to take us out?
Andreea.
I don't remember what to say.
I'll do it. So hey guys, IoT Coffee Talk followers, friends, Thanks for making it this far. If you did make it this far, most of you don't, and that's okay. You're just missing out on some great insights and a fantastic conversation. Andrea, Bill, we're going to have you guys on as often as you guys want to be on. Wonderful to have you join us to kick off the new year. To everyone out there, we hope you have a wonderful 2022, that you keep healthy, you keep safe, your family safe, and that we make this a better year than what we've seen in the last two under this pandemic. And let's not lose faith, let's not lose hope, and let's have a good time, have some fun like we do on IoT Coffee Talk. So please follow us at www.iotcoffeetalk.com, and we will see you next week. Take care.
Peace.
Bye.
What do you guys think about my hat? All right, we're done.